Why does it feel that when you're running ads and seeing good numbers, it doesn't feel as good as it looks? You see your cost per acquisition or return on ad spend in your target range, so you increase the spend. But the cash in the bank seems to be going down. Kind of makes you want to tear your hair out, I know. And sadly, it's not an uncommon situation, but it's not your fault. It's the people teaching super aggressive scaling techniques or agencies who aren't taking into consideration your invisible expenses. And these are your cost of goods sold, your processing fees, inventory buys, 3PL, agency management fees, refunds, etc. And it's all the things that you're in charge of paying for, but are often overlooked in the process of determining a good cost per acquisition or return on ad spend number to hit. So in this video, we're going to break down how to take these numbers into account while managing your ad spend to turn that bank account frown upside down. If you aren't increasing or decreasing your ad budgets at the right time, you'll find yourself either plateauing or bleeding fast. I've personally seen ad accounts turn into cash-eating machines that have burned down businesses who couldn't control them, or at the very least, push them into loads of debt. Now, way back in 2021, the dreaded iOS 14.5 released, and it changed so much of advertising as we know it. Now, the decisions we make in our ads managers might be uninformed, and it's not your fault either. It's all you have to go off of, because attribution software like Triple Whale or Hyros or Northbeam will stack yet another expense on your already long list of expenses, and you're just trying to be profitable as is. So maybe your ad management looks a bit like this. You have a target return on ad spend of 2.5, and your dashboard shows you're at a 3. Increase budget and throw a party. Or you have a target return on ad spend of 2.5 and your dashboard shows you're at a 2. Decrease budget, sad day. It makes logical sense to do it like this, but unfortunately it isn't so black and white. Because in the decrease example I showed you, your dashboard might be showing a 2 return on ad spend, but your overall revenue could be incredibly higher that week due to a ton of traffic from the previous week that finally decided to buy from maybe an email campaign you sent, which didn't get tracked inside your ad dashboard. I see this scenario play out a million different ways. You drive traffic from Facebook or Google or TikTok ads, and then they follow you on that platform and then they buy from a post, but the ad platform didn't catch it. Or you drive traffic from the ads and they join your email or SMS list, and then 6.5 days and 12 seconds later they buy from an email or a text, but the ad platforms didn't track it. Or they bookmark your website on their desktop and then they buy on their phone later. Or they even opt out of allow tracking on their iPhone and you can't track them at all. Well, this makes it really difficult to want to increase or even decrease ad spend, because ad platforms will lose tracking in those scenarios. So the question remains, how do we budget for advertising? And it's really simple. I recommend you budget on 2 different levels and in this order. Level 1 is on a percentage of revenue. Level 2 is inside your ad account. Now, level 1 is going to ensure your ad spend stays within a specified percentage so that you always have profit in the bank at the end of the day. And the second level ensures that you're only spending on the most profitable campaigns within your ad account. Let's break them down into simple terms. According to Forbes, you should be spending only 5 to 10% of your total revenue on marketing. Now, personally, I've never seen a brand spend only 5 to 10% on overall marketing and grow at a healthy and profitable rate, particularly in e-commerce. So my recommendation is that you spend 15 to 30% of your revenue on ads and hover within a 5% range week over week if you want to be growing and remain profitable, which is, I assume, why you're watching this video, right? Now, there are only 3 ranges to choose from: 15 to 20%, 20 to 25%, or 25 to 30%. Take your pick, then you can adjust after a few weeks of maintaining that range and see how it feels money in the bank wise. This leaves room for cost of goods sold, overhead, and profit while keeping your ad spendometer in check. The reason we select a range is because your revenue and your ad spend will fluctuate week over week based on sales that week. Now, real quick, before we move on, there's an important note I want to share with you. If you feel that it is not possible to invest at least 15% in ad spend, then you're probably fat somewhere else, and you need to trim that fat. Start with the fancy software or offices and equipment and fun expenses and the employees that you hired that really aren't producing profit. Sorry, Kevin, but we don't need 3 accountants.
I'm serious about this stuff.
And we work with some pretty large brands that are in the $50 million range. And so if they can hover between 15 and 20% of their gross revenue in ad spend, then so can you. Now, before we move on to an example and activity, I want to invite you to subscribe. Like this video if you haven't already. We post new videos every single week, and I don't want you to miss it because our mission is to help every e-commerce business owner on the planet with the best content we possibly can. And also, while you're down there, go ahead and leave us a comment. Let us know what budget allocation percentage range you're going to be starting with. Now, I see e-commerce brands all over the place climb into the 40%, 50%, 60% ad spend to revenue ratio if they're not being intentional about their spending. And most of them, you know what happens? They feel stressed out of their minds financially because after cost of goods sold and all of those other expenses that I mentioned, you're not far away from going under. So don't let that happen. You will thank me later. Now, let's go ahead, dive onto our computers, and let's do this together. Each week, select a day you'll keep track of everything that I'm about to show you. Our team chooses to do this every single Monday. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna break out a spreadsheet and run a report for the last 4 weeks of your revenue and ad spend. Weekly logging and doing this is gonna help you begin to notice trends so that you can be proactive versus reactive. Then add a third row to show the percentage of ad spend. It should look something like this. This will show you a trend of how you're spending versus your revenue. So let's look at a practical example of this. Let's say we're spending $3,000 per week on ads, and let's put our revenues for each of these weeks at $7,500, $12,000, $5,400, and $9,200. This puts our 4-week ad spend average at 38.5%, and we want to be in our goal of 20 to 25%. That means this week, I need to try and cut back a good amount. Now let's take a weekly average from the revenue here. So the average weekly revenue from the last 4 weeks was $8,525. Meaning, if we wanted to keep our ad spend at 25% of our revenue, we would actually need to decrease our weekly ad spend to $2,131. Therefore, over the next week, I must commit to an ad spend of $2,131 and make sure it does not exceed that, give or take a few bucks. Even if you have a campaign that is killing it, we aren't scaling yet. Now, this is where most other ad gurus would start making fun of us and tell us how foolish we are. But here's what we've learned. It all sounds good until it doesn't scale how you think it should scale. Then what happens is you're stressed out and you're more broke. Remember this, to go slow is to go fast, and to go fast is to go slow. What that means is by waiting a few more days, your ad spend will trail your revenue, and I promise you, those few days of waiting are not going to hurt you. Now you may be asking yourself, okay, great, now how do I spend the $2,131 in my ad account? That's a great question, but it'll vary based on what platform you're utilizing, so I won't be covering ad account level budgeting in this video. If, however, you're running Facebook ads and you have an e-commerce business that would benefit from a proven scientific ad testing system, I encourage you to check out our scientific e-commerce Facebook ads course that teaches you over the shoulder how to find profitable and scalable ads. The link is in the description, and because you're watching this video on YouTube, the link will take you to a page where it's discounted for only $27. You're not going to want to miss it. Thanks for watching, and I hope this video made sense of budgeting and allocating ad spend for your business without getting eaten alive. If you found this helpful, drop a comment below and shoot me a message on Instagram at Josh Coffee. I would love to hear how it helped. And if you want a full document of this video along with examples and more information, I've included a link in the description to get access. Don't forget, subscribe while you're down there because we release new videos every week just like this one. We'll see you next time.